never know if you don't go. You'll never shine if you don't glow. Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on, go play. Hey now, you're a rock star. Get the show on, get paid. Only shooting stars break the mold.
Welcome to another episode of the NRL Allstars podcast. Barnesy, your host of the Allstars podcast, here for TLT round 11, the week before we actually hit the first big bye round of the NRL Supercoach season. It is a huge week, and I've got a lot happening. So here's an update. Here's our agenda for today and also for the next week. I'm going to do a quick solo one today just on TLT, our Pods and Gems segment, and also Market Watch. But Mikey is going to jump on in the next few days to get in early on a big buy round special on buy round strategy, what you should be thinking about with your trades and so forth. And next week, I'm going to be on the official Supercoach podcast with Tom Sangster at the Daily Telegraph to talk all about round 12 TLT. So 3 episodes if you want to watch the official one with me as well over the course of the next 7 days. It's going to be a big one, but I'm going to get through it. It was a struggle today to get this one out, but I wanted to make sure that I did, hence no guests. I tried. There's a few Champions fans from the old Champions podcast who have been at me. I've been trying to get Wilfred on board, but unfortunately he's a very busy man. And whilst me and Wilfred chat quite a bit, it's hard to fit it in the schedule in time for a TLT. I even tried to get Bear from the Champions podcast on today, but he had too much on, so he couldn't come on last minute. So we're going to get stuck in and do a TLT for today. And for this one, we'll hit up Market Watch first of all, because there's quite a bit of interesting chat to be had for Market Watch this week. Now, the first thing is the outs. I think that most of the outs at the moment are pretty standard. Latrell Mitchell and Suafa'alongo are being traded out quite heavily, but in saying that, I'm pretty sure that the market's going to change with those players, because obviously if they're playing this week, you probably wouldn't want to be trading them out. And in fact, if you manage to hold on to Latrell for an extra week, it is a huge pod play for this week now, because a lot of people traded him out last week. I do think that he is still a sell. So I do think that you should be selling him over the bye period, because he's going to play Origin. He's not going to play round 12 as it is anyway, probably not round 13 backing up. So you got to take that into account. But other guys, obviously Sasangi has got an injury. I would be waiting to see the extra info, I guess, that we get off him. But by and large, a lot of the rest all pretty much makes sense. There is one guy I'm going to focus on, and it's almost going to be a bit of buy chat here, and that is Setu 2. 7th most popular trade out at the moment. He has actually been scoring really well for a Dragons side that's been underperforming. I've been playing him most weeks. 47 last week in a side that got an absolute drubbing against the Newcastle Knights. Could have scored another try as well last week, but it was disallowed. He's actually been really good. So he's somebody who presents a bit of a conundrum for teams, because if you've got someone who might be close to peaking, but they're going to give you buy round cover, even if you're really well set up for that round 12, I'd try and hold on to those guys, particularly a guy that can score as well in his base power as Setu 2 tends to do. So I don't like selling him. 29 is not a big break even. I think there's other options that you could probably sell in most of those teams. That's probably the only one out of the sells, though, that kind of stood out. I will say with the trades that you are making this week, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you are trading for next week as well. Round 12, you've got 3 trades that you can make, but there's always carnage every buy round with some players named or not named or selected in Origin that you don't expect. And with only 3 trades, sometimes you can be a bit low. You want to have 13 at least for that big buy round in round 12. So for me, for example, one of my trades this week is going to be solely for next week, because I want to make 4 trades, and next week I need to get that one in early, so I'm going to be pulling the trigger on that one this week. Just a thought. Me and Mikey will talk more about it in that special episode coming out in a few days. But on the traded-in market, Greg Marzhew, number 1 most traded-in player by a long way. Over 200 points on the weekend. Massive game. And it was one of the more crazier games that I remember seeing in the last couple of years. I traded in Marzhew last minute. Obviously very happy that I did. but he was still only in 7% of teams. So it was a huge leg up for teams that got him in last week. I've seen it bandied around, is he a must-have? That's a common question with Greg Marzhew. I'm a very hard marker with must-haves. Not many are must-haves for me. I don't think Greg Marzhew is a must-have. Do I think he's a good trade-in still? Yes, he is an excellent trade-in. $708,000, the price tag does not matter. Why? Because at a minus 102 break-even, you'll probably not see that break-even again for years. It is one of the biggest break-evens you can get. He will make $150K this week alone. He will probably make $250,000 in the next fortnight. That is better than the vast majority of cash cows that you get in and have sit there for 3 months trying to get that type of money out of them. Most of the time you don't. So even as a pure cash grab, he's 100% worth it. He can make you $250K easily and quickly, which is a big deal. So aside from that, he's obviously got a good matchup this week against the Gold Coast Titans, who I'll remind everybody actually cut Greg Marzhew previously, and that's how he ended up in Newcastle. So I really like the Titans matchup, obviously. At the moment, he's still only going to be in around 24% of sides. That is really good for him. He's not scored well against the Titans, which is quite surprising. 50 average, 71 point high. I think he smashes that this week and he gets his new high score against him. So after last week's performance, I'd be trading him in, but there is obviously some other options as well on the Newcastle Knights side of things. There is Kalyn Ponga as a top 3 trade-in at the moment. Really easy trading to make for anyone that can make room for them in the flex or in your fullback spot. Dom Young, though, is the other interesting one. So Dom was always a bit of a cut price alternative last week to getting Greg Marzhew in because he was a fair bit cheaper, about $100,000 cheaper. And he went great as well. Not as good as Greg, but 120 points was massive. He is only $495,000. So as far as value goes, it's excellent. As far as this week's points go, it is excellent. One thing to be careful about, if you are piling on the Knights players at the moment, they've got a great matchup in Magic Round versus the Gold Coast Titans. It isn't at Newcastle, though. That is a factor. And they do have a bye then in round 12. So that is rough. But what is even rougher is that they also have a bye in round 15. So the next 2 big bye rounds they will miss. So if you're getting Dom Young in and you already have Ponga and, say, Marzhew in your team, it's going to be tough to have 3 of them. Likewise, if you went the Fletcher Sharp route last week for a bit of a pod play, going to be tough. You can't fit in. I think it's tough to fit in 3 in a lot of teams. There's no way that you can fit in 4. And you got to remember that you're doing it for 2 good matchups in the next 3 weeks. They're all going to be sitting next week. So it's tough, but it does present a great opportunity if you want to get Marzhew in because you can't afford it because you don't have any other Knights and you want to get a piece of it. I think it's a really good trade. Be aware, though, of how bad Dom Young can be. The week before he's 120 against the Dragons, he threw up 26 points. 44 points the week before that and 17 points the week before that with a putrid 13 raw base in that game. He does not do anything unless he scores tries and line breaks. So he needs the attack. Probably gets it this week. I would not trade him in over other Knights options, though. Certainly Ponga, Marzhew, and even Dylan Lucas. Those are the 3 that I would have ahead of him because those 3 guys could be long-term keepers. 2 out of the 3 will be long-term holds for the rest of the season potentially. So good option for Marzhew. Cut price 1. Just be careful how many Knights you're actually getting into your side. Jack Bostock. Now, I mentioned last week I really didn't like people grabbing him because at the end of the day, he's only played 1 game, wasn't going to change in price. He's now played 2, so he is going to change in price. Has a minus 17 break even because he went 80 points in the weekend again. That's great. Now is the time to potentially look at it, 500,000. I will just say to teams as well the same thing that I said to those Knights traders, though. It's really important to be careful with your Dolphins players that you own. Flegler's quite popular. Fini Fuiaki became more popular, even though he's not highly owned at the moment. And Herbie's owned by more than half a super coach, one of the most popular players in the game. Obviously, teams are also jumping on Isaako. Now, if you were to add Jack Bostock to the mix of 2 or 3 of those Dolphins, round 13, you're going to be in huge trouble, everyone, because they do give you that great buy coverage in round 12, but that mini big buy round in round 13 when we've got 3 teams off, one of them is the Dolphins. So if you don't own any Dolphins or you just own, Herbie Farnworth like most people do, I think Bostock's a good trade. There's decent value there, and he's at least going to give you some cash and also some cover as well. And you can trade him out again later on if you need to. So I don't mind that. Just, again, there's a bit of a word of caution there. And that's kind of the same with Jamayne Isaako, but I won't repeat myself. He is also very expensive at $762,000. Now, I would much prefer to get into Marzhew. He's going to cost you less investment. He's not going to give you the round 12 cover, but you're going to get massively, massively more money out of doing that. And unfortunately for Jamayne Isaako, he does this a lot, which is good as far as the big games that he bangs out. But the unfortunate part is it's only here and there. A lot of the time, he can throw up a lot of 30s and 40s. Now, surprisingly enough, this season, he's been better than most. He's got a 98, a 111, a 99, and a 178. That's 4 out of 9 games where he's gone 98 plus. He doesn't normally do that. He normally goes bang and then goes 33, 35, 36, 80. It's a good run for Isaako at the moment. South Sydney Magic round, not a terrible matchup. You got to remember in round 12 he's going to be away at GIO, though. That's not great for the Dolphins, and he generally doesn't get as much ball as what Selwyn Cobbo does on the opposite wing. So, I like the trade. I do think he's overpriced, and I do think there's other better ones. But, 178 points on the weekend. If you get a piece of that again, if he even goes for 140, 150 in the next few weeks, then you absolutely won the trade. So, definitely an option. Just be aware that he's pretty volatile, and his stats absolutely stink sometimes with his base, but the goal kicking does help him, obviously. Moving right along, non-Dolphins players. We've got Latrell. I don't think Latrell Mark II is going to get traded in if Latrell Mitchell's actually playing, so we'll go past that one. Cody Ramsey's an interesting one for my Roosters. Obviously, now he's playing his third game. He's bargain basement, minimum price $201,000, so it looks like a really easy downgrade. I feel like a broken record. I'm really sorry. Every one of these players just seems to have so many red flags, mostly all of them anyway. Cody Ramsey is only a 4 break even. That's not fantastic for his first price rise. And he's only a 4 break even because he hasn't been scoring well at all anyway. He's gone 47 and 16 the last 2 weeks, although the 16 was in lower minutes. But he's a guy that's quite small. He needs to get tries. If he's not going to, it's a bit sort of Alex Johnston early career type stuff where you're going to get some 20s or 30s in there most of the time. Decent matchup against the Cowboys this week for the Roosters to get points. But if you did watch them the last couple of weeks, they have gone to Daniel Tupou's side a lot more, and that's pretty obvious why. They've also got Rob Toyer that when he gets the ball, or even he's going up for kicks to get some of his tries and attacking stats, the ball kind of stops with him. I'm not real confident in Cody Ramsey scoring a lot of tries, and also the other red flag is I still haven't seen Billy Smith named, which is kind of weird. I've been expecting Billy Smith to come back, and there hasn't been a lot of information about it that I've seen. When he does, I sort of expected he might go onto the wing. But the other thing is as well that Tommy Talau was due back this week. We've got Ponga on the extended bench, which is interesting because he's not normally there every week anyway. And yeah, I tend to think that Ramsey, you might get this week out of him if you buy him, and you might make about 25K. But then they've got the buy in round 13, and then by the time round 12, sorry, and then by the time we get to round 13, Cody Ramsey may not be playing in a Roosters jumper and be back in New South Wales Cup. That could be really tough. If you just need someone that's 200K, then fine, go for it. You just always got to be aware of the risks of whether he's going to keep his job and what the next couple of weeks is going to look like. Isaiah Papali'i, 9th most popular trade-in. Can I tell you, this one has no red flags. I absolutely love it. And Papali'i had a field day on the weekend. I think that he's been a little underwhelming, considering he's been getting basically an 80-minute role. Before last week, he had 47 and 56. Then he had a 90, 53, 50, then a 102. He seems to go a couple of average games that are really below par, and then he hits a big one. Got 95 on the weekend against the Raiders. I think that the encouraging thing is the minutes. They haven't been close to 80 the last couple, but 68 and 65 is still good. And the Dragons matchup this week is a prime one. So if you are looking for guys that you can keep that are going to be dual, which is handy, and that are going to carve up this week, that's a target game, obviously, Panthers versus Dragons. Isaiah Papali'i is low-owned pod. I really like him at 606,000. It is a shame, though, that Panthers don't play 12 or 15. You're not going to get any big buy round coverage out of him until round 18. So a bit of a spotty run here for the Panthers. But I still really like the trade. I think he's really good for this week. Then we've got Oliver Pascal. That's it. Oliver Pascal's got a -8 break-even at 346,000. I think he looks fantastic. So I understand people getting him in as a hooker option. I think that the key there is they've actually chosen to have Pascal, it looks like, as their long-term 9. So you expect his job security is probably quite good. And the other thing too is that he played a full 80 minutes for the first time on the weekend with 81 points. His PPM is really solid at 1.12, and that's what you want to see. Even if he ends up having Verrills back and playing some minutes, even with that PPM, you're still going to get about 60 points per game if he's playing that 58 to 60 type of role. So bit expensive at 346, but I get it, especially if you're downgrading from someone that just didn't work out at hooker that you went for. We need to talk pods and gems, though. And pods and gems, my new segment from last week, I absolutely love it. Instead of going through the pods and gems from TLT, the forgotten gems that people haven't noticed, or the pods that are really low owned, we'll just do it in one segment so TLT can focus on C and VC options mainly. This week, I just want to give a shout out to a Tigers player, Kai Pearce-Paul. 8 offloads last week in one game. That is absolutely ridiculous. Anyone that watched that Tigers Storm game, he was pushing for offloads every single time he ran the ball, and he almost achieved it every single time he ran the ball. 640,000 is a good price for him. He's only 7% owned. Now, the fact that he doesn't actually play the bye round is sort of a silver lining positive because it means no one is going to jump on him right now. But he's playing against a Manly edge in Magic Round that can definitely give up some offloads and maybe even a try to him. So 83 points on the weekend, mainly off the back of those offloads. He hasn't scored a try since round 4. In the first 3 rounds, he scored 3 tries. I quite like him to go over the stripe this week, and I definitely like him to go another 70 plus at least. So I love him for a set and forget because he's also going to cover you around 15 and around 18 after he misses that first big buy round. So the Tigers are basically gold after that round 12 because they then don't have another buy until round 23. And that's really good coverage after you get through that round 12. If you get on Kai Pearce-Paul early here, you could get a massive game out of him before anybody else does. So I love him. I don't think there's a lot of second row forward options at the moment that are screaming out as long-term keeper guns that have really established themselves as top-tier elite this year. Pearce-Paul has. So I think he's one of my favourite ones for this week. Let's go along to another back rower, and this one's a Roosters back rower that's gone overlooked. Can I tell you he's still only in 2% of teams, 666,000, achievable for a purchase. In his 80-minute starting games this year, which has been all but one, he's averaged over 74 points per game with almost a 60 raw base while he's been starting. Siwa Wong was brought up to me a month ago, and I said, look, I'm worried about the minutes. If he gets the minutes, he's great. I really like him as a player. Shout out to those 2 or 3 people that sent me messages about him. I think that they all jumped on him, and it was absolutely fantastic. Always never doubted the talent, but just doubted the minutes and role. He's going to keep going, though. He's got an 80-minute role now. It's going to keep going. If you look at the last 5 rounds, he now has a 5-round average of 79, a 3-round average of 81. But the biggest thing is he's actually been scoring tries and looking dangerous on that right edge as well. 2 tries in his last 4 games, 104 last week with a 62 raw base and no try in it. He is on fire at the moment. And playing against a Cowboys edge, running at their left, I really like him because one of the things that he has over most of the second row forwards in the competition for Supercoach is that he has elite raw base stats. He makes a lot of tackles, and you're always going to get a safe score out of him. You're not going to get a Britton Nick or a 33 out of him. He doesn't need to score tries or get attack. So again, though, not going to play round 12, but you are going to get the Roosters buy cover in round 15. I don't think anyone's going to jump on him. 2% owned. I think he's massively under the radar. Look, another forward. This guy is going to give you buy cover and does have a plum matchup the next 2 weeks. Halasima. I was big on Halasima for 500k in the preseason. Didn't get the starting job. He's got the starting job now, but he just hasn't been going very well. Now, it's true that, trading in someone that hasn't been going well could be Supercoach poison. But the other important thing, and one of my biggest bits of advice I ever give anyone, is if you really want to get ahead or you really want to be aggressive, the number one thing that you want to try and nail is get on guys that go on runs before they go on the run. And to do that, you got to be a bit ballsy. You got to take some risks with that, because once somebody goes bang, bang in a couple of games, everybody jumps on them. And there's not as much value there at all if you're getting on them then with the pack. If you get on Halasima now at 8% ownership, he's got the next 2 weeks that are absolute golden. Running at a Broncos edge that has always given up points to edge forwards, and he's a try scorer, and then running at a Dragons edge that we know will give up points to a guy like Halasima. He is primed to score tries back-to-back these next 2 weeks. Got to be said, only averaged 50 points for the season. He's started most of those games aside from round 1. The last game that he did play in round 9 before the Warriors round 10 bye, he only played the 57 minutes, but I believe that was injury affected as well. He's named to start. At 400k, he's a really good downgrade option too to free up cash for the buy rounds, but he's going to cover you in that round 12. So I'm probably going to bring him in this week. He's probably my guy that I'm planning ahead for to bring in for the next 2 weeks and have that extra cover in my second row forward for round 12. But I think he could be a real gem. But my pod and my gem of the week that I think everyone has forgotten about is the guy that everybody wanted for the first 2 months of the season, and that is Milky Jenkins over at Penrith. Jenkins is playing the Dragons this week, and we talk about target games. Penrith versus Dragons last round. That is last game of the round, I should say. That is a target game. That is what you want a piece of. And when you're looking at it, it's actually really hard with Penrith, because this season in Supercoach, it's basically Nathan Cleary, and then it can be any number of players that end up turning up or going well. Last week, Blaze Talangi turned up for the first time this year. It's hard to say, like, these are the 2 or 3 elite players that I want to get that always score good points when Penrith are out someone. But Jenkins normally does. At the start of the season, he went 104, 76, 134, 122, 109, 80, 87. He didn't score below 76 until he hit round 8. And that was the first time he didn't score a try. Everybody knows that he scored at least 2 tries plus throughout that whole run. Look what Greg Marzhew did on that left-hand wing against the Dragons' right-hand defence. He had 6 line breaks, 4 tries, absolutely destroyed it. He's just done that last week. There is no way the Panthers aren't going to target that side. There is no way that Jenkins is not going to score at least a try. I actually think he's good for a hat-trick. Now, the sweet spot of this is everybody's scrambling to do other things. Everybody's scrambling to do buy cover, and the Panthers don't play in round 12. But the other thing too is that he's got 126 BE. I've seen a lot of coaches look at it and go, 126 BE, 636,000. I'll wait till later. Don't wait till later if you want to get really, really big points this week and go for the ceiling guys. You know that he can do it. You know that he can get close to that break even, if not beat it potentially. He's already beaten it once this year and come close to it 3 other times. I would pay for those points. He's probably going to be my other trade in with Halasima. That's the 2 guys that I like the most for this week as far as downgrade option, cheap option, Halasima, and really shooting for that Penrith Panthers target game against the Dragons at the end of the week to go alongside Nathan Cleary. So, pods and gems, loving the segment. I enjoy doing it. Let's have a quick look at TLT to talk about season VCs. And to start with, Magic Round, Sharkies and Bulldogs. Look, bit of a critical game for both sides. The Bulldogs have been giving up points, though. 40 points last week. I was really disappointed with Hines last week. I ended up captaining Hines, so I was absolutely filthy. But he scored a sub 50. How often is he going to do that back-to-back, though? So I certainly think that he's the pod VC option. A 77 average against the Bulldogs in his career with a 129 high is actually good numbers for him. And the Dogs haven't been defending. That's been the biggest thing. Everybody likes to go on about how the Dogs can't attack, how they can't score points, which is all true. But the thing that's let them down most this year is their defence. Because last year they didn't attack that well either, but their defence actually got them some victories. This year, they're not defending. I don't mind it for the VC. I like that Ronaldo's back as well. I think that it helps them out immensely. but that is a pretty big shot in the dark VC because we've got some pretty big other options as well. Latrell Mitchell, obvious one that if you just captain him every single game this year, you'd be real high on the Supercoach overall rankings. But he's got that injury cloud over him. He might not play. It's a bit risky to look at that, but you can always change it later on. I'll tell you what I like more, though. If we go forward, we've got Teddy versus the Cowboys, and Teddy delivered last week with a 127, and he has been delivering all season. As a VC option, I think it's really safe, but I will say that Tedesco has put up some nice scores against the Cowboys in the past, and just make sure that you can loop him if he does go 127 again, because that's what happened to me. Last week, I realised I couldn't loop him, and I had to just settle for a captaincy on either Cleary or Hines, and I missed out on a lot of points. Could have gotten a lot better. But against the Cowboys, Teddy's got a 77 average, which is, about average for him, but he's got a 178-point high, and he's got a few games in the last few years where he's gone 140 plus. So I really like Tedesco as a VC option this week. You could certainly see him, but I do think that the VC is the key, mainly because you got to have something on Nathan Cleary. But we'll get to him in a minute. The Storm and the Eels, I think that if Farlongo was healthy and not hurt last week, you could even argue a VC on Farlongo against this Eels side who's giving up the second most points per game out of any team. The Dragons are the only team giving up more points to their opposition than what the Eels are. Farlongo smells of a double or a hat trick and 100 plus. Bit hard though with the injury cloud. Then you've got the Newcastle Knights game. Told you there were so many options this round. If you're trading in Kalyn Ponga, I would have to VC him, and I think that he's neck and neck with Teddy, the number one VC options this week, playing the Gold Coast Titans. Obviously, we're going to go straight forward, though, to the Panthers and Dragons game. Yes, the C of the round is Nathan Cleary. I would urge everybody not to overthink it, not to try and do a different to the crowd C option, because Cleary could legitimately go 200 this week against the Dragons. They do not look any better. They've got Atkinson and Flanagan back in the halves. That might help the defence a little bit, I guess. Cade Reid was missing quite a few tackles. But look, I think this is Panthers by 40 plus, and Cleary looked sensational on the weekend on his way to another 140-point score. And I really like his running game this year. I don't think run this well to get so many line breaks and tries at this point of a season in the last 3 or 4 years that I can remember. So against this Dragon side, I don't think you can stuff around. I think you've got to have the C on Nathan Cleary. That is the podcast. Wrapping it up, Mikey will be on with me to talk about round 12 big buy round special pod to go through all the players for round 12 and your options. Our great sponsor and partner, oneworldcourier.com.au. Go and jump on them today if you've got any freight or shipping needs. They'll give you a great deal if you sign up and let them know that you heard about them through our podcast here, the NRL Allstars podcast. But fantastic sponsor and partner of the Allstars podcast. If you've got anything that you want to ship, any freight at all, whether it's for you or your business or a business that you own, they're the people to go to. So go check them out today. And make sure you subscribe and follow, please. It is the easiest way to support the free content that I put out there. Please hit subscribe, hit like on the socials, and more importantly, YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes. But really appreciate all the listeners so far this year, everyone. And I'm looking forward to chatting about the round 12 bye with Mikey real soon. Until then, good luck with your sides, and we'll be back again to talk more footy again real soon.
You'll never know if you don't go. You'll never shine if you don't glow. Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on, go play. Hey now, you're a rock star. Get the show on, get paid. Only shooting stars.